The loud knock on my barn door sent a chill down my spine. When I opened it, 4 men in black shirts with the bold letters "Troll" printed on the front barged in without asking. Their leader waved a clipboard in my face and barked, "By order of the Homeowners Association, we're here to confiscate all firearms on this property. Hand them over now or face consequences." I froze, my hands tightening behind my back, but kept my voice calm. "This is my land. You have no right to be here." The man smirked, leaning closer. "We are the law here. You don't get a say." His buddies dropped duffel bags to the ground and began scanning my barn like they owned the place. My blood boiled, but I didn't move. Not yet. Then one of them spotted my old hunting rifle hanging on the wall and shouted, "Found one." He reached for it, but I stepped between him and the gun. "Back away," I said, my tone sharp. The leader laughed, a cold, fake laugh. "Or what? You'll call the cops? We are the cops now." That's when I knew they weren't just trespassers. They were fakes. I caught a quick glimpse of their belts, no real badges, cheap props. They didn't know me. They didn't know that before I started this farm, I spent 20 years in the U.S. Army leading covert operations. My training kicked in, and I scanned the barn. 3 exits, 4 intruders, and a loaded revolver holstered at my hip. I stayed still, playing the role of the scared farmer. "Fine," I said slowly. "Take the gun, but you better be sure about what you're doing." The leader sneered, "Oh, I'm sure." He didn't notice my thumb suddenly pressing the silent alarm button hidden under the workbench, or that the men he thought were just farmhands outside were actually retired vets I'd trained myself. As he reached for the rifle, I took a deep breath. This was about to turn. The moment his fingers brushed the stock of my rifle, a sharp whistle cut through the air. 3 of my men slipped silently through the side door, moving like shadows. The fake HOA thugs didn't notice, too busy swaggering and barking orders. The leader spun back toward me, shoving the clipboard into my chest. "Sign this notice," he demanded, "or we'll seize every weapon you own and fine you 10 grand for violating HOA safety codes." I glanced at the paper. It wasn't even an official document, just a cheap printout with my name spelled wrong. I smirked. "You really think this is going to hold up in court?" His jaw tightened. "Court? You won't make it to court." He nodded at one of his men. "Bag the weapons. If he resists, bag him too." One of the thugs moved toward me, flexing like he was about to grab me. That's when I finally dropped the act. In one swift motion, I drew my revolver and aimed it squarely at his chest. The entire barn froze. "Step back." My voice was calm, steady, too steady for a man who was supposedly terrified. The leader's face went pale. "Whoa, whoa! You can't pull a gun on HOA officials." I tilted my head, a cold smile creeping onto my face. "Funny thing about that, HOA officials don't usually carry plastic badges." One of my men outside kicked the door open, a shotgun in his hands. "Boss, perimeter secure," he said, eyes locked on the intruders. The 4 fake officers panicked, looking around like trapped animals. The leader raised his hands, trying to regain control. Okay, let's all calm down. We were just following orders." "Whose orders?" I barked, taking a step closer. He swallowed hard, then stammered. "The president of the HOA. She said you were a threat to the community, that you had illegal weapons." I cut him off. "I am the community. This is my land, and every weapon here is registered with the U.S. Army." For the first time, true fear flashed in his eyes. "You boys picked the wrong farm," I growled, "and you have no idea who you're dealing with." Outside, the rumble of approaching engines grew louder. My backup had arrived. The leader's head snapped toward the sound. "Who's coming?" he asked, his voice trembling. I didn't answer. Instead, I holstered my revolver and whispered, "Military protocol, Phase 1. That's when the real show began. The barn doors burst open, flooding the room with blinding sunlight. 3 black SUVs screeched to a halt outside, their tires kicking up clouds of dust. Doors flew open, and a squad of men in tactical gear poured out with precision, moving like a well-oiled machine. Their uniforms bore no police insignia, only a single golden star on the chest. The HOA fakes stumbled backward, their bravado completely gone. "What the hell is this?" one of them shouted, his voice breaking. I didn't bother answering. My men knew the drill. Two flanked the sides of the barn, cutting off escape routes, while the rest formed a tight line, rifles raised but not fired. The leader tried to sound tough, but his voice cracked. "You can't just bring a private militia out here. That's illegal." I took a slow step forward, my boots echoing on the wooden floor. "Private militia? No, this is a federal response team. My team." He blinked, confused. "Federal? You? What are you talking about?" I locked eyes with him, letting the weight of my words sink in. I wasn't just some farmer who bought a ranch after retirement. I commanded a covert U.S. Army unit specializing in counterterrorism, and he had just triggered a military protocol reserved for domestic threats. The man visibly shook, his plastic badge glinting under the light. We didn't know. She told us you were dangerous." I pressed, taking another step closer. The thug hesitated, then blurted, "Karen, the HOA president. She said you were stockpiling weapons to start some kind of uprising. She promised us cash if we confiscated everything before the real cops showed up." My blood ran hot. "So you impersonated federal officers and stormed my property because some power-hungry neighbor dangled a few bucks in your face?" The men glanced nervously at each other. Their leader opened his mouth to speak, but before he could, the deep roar of a pickup truck engine grew louder. Everyone froze as the truck skidded to a stop just outside the barn. The door slammed open, and there she was, Karen herself, perfectly pressed blouse, oversized sunglasses, and a smug grin like she owned the whole county. She strode toward us, waving a phone in her hand. "Well, well, well," she sneered. "Looks like I showed up just in time to witness a criminal threatening my HOA officers." I stepped forward, my fists clenched. "These aren't officers, Karen. They're criminals, just like you." Karen laughed, a sharp, grating sound. "You really think anyone's going to believe you over me? I run this community, and when the sheriff arrives, you'll be in cuffs before sundown." I didn't flinch. "Karen, you have no idea what storm you just walked into." Behind me, one of my men murmured, "Boss, Phase 2. I gave a slow nod, my eyes never leaving hers. Phase 2. The next few seconds would change everything. Before Karen could even process my words, my men moved like lightning. Two of them snapped cuffs onto the fake HOA thugs, while another confiscated their cheap badges and weapons. The leader of the group tried to protest, but a rifle muzzle pressed against his back silenced him fast. Karen's smug smile faltered. "What are you doing?" she shrieked, taking a step back. "You can't arrest my men." I calmly reached into my vest and pulled out a thick leather wallet. When I flipped it open, the gold federal badge gleamed in the sunlight. Karen froze, her jaw dropping. "You want to talk about law?" I said, my voice low but cutting through the tension like a blade. "I am the law here. These men aren't just some farmhands. They're my former unit, U.S. Army Command, Special Domestic Operations." Karen stumbled backward, her confidence unraveling. "That's impossible. You're just a farmer." I stepped closer, my boots crunching on the gravel. "I earned this land with 20 years of service to my country. You thought you could use fake cops to intimidate me, to steal my guns and my freedom. Not today." Karen's hands shook as she clutched her phone. "I'll call the sheriff. He'll side with me." Almost on cue, a sheriff's cruiser pulled up at the edge of the property. Karen's face lit up, until the sheriff stepped out, tipped his hat to me, and said, "Colonel, we came as fast as we could." Karen's mouth fell open. "Wait, Colonel." I nodded slowly. "That's right. And now you're about to answer for every crime you've committed." The sheriff turned to my men. "Get these impersonators in the back of the cruiser. Federal charges are waiting for them." Karen spun around, panicking. "No, this isn't fair. I run this neighborhood. You can't do this to me." I looked her dead in the eye. "You don't run anything anymore." One of my men handed me a small tablet showing live footage from the hidden cameras around my property. The video clearly showed Karen meeting with the fake cops, handing them cash and plotting the raid. The sheriff held it up for everyone to see. "This is more than enough evidence. Karen, you're under arrest for conspiracy, fraud, and impersonating law enforcement." Karen screamed as the cuffs clicked around her wrists. "No, this was supposed to be my victory. You ruined everything." I leaned in close, my voice just loud enough for her to hear. "You didn't just mess with me. You messed with a soldier who swore to protect his land and his country." As she was dragged to the cruiser, my neighbors started gathering near the fence line, whispering and recording with their phones. I raised my voice so everyone could hear. This land was paid for in blood and service. No HOA, no corrupt official, and no Karen will ever take it from me or my family. The crowd erupted in cheers as the sheriff drove off, taking Karen and her fake army with him. I turned to my men, finally letting out a breath. Phase 3. Clean up and reset. One of them grinned. Yes, sir. Same time next week. I chuckled, holstering my revolver. Let's hope we don't have to. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I stood tall on my porch, knowing my home was safe again, and I made a silent promise.